I can tell you kind of a humorous story about grizzlies. First, there was a bear on my lawn. My labs were on the porch. We have an upper deck, and they were barking. I looked out, and here's a grizzly rolling around on the lawn. It was in the summer, and I thought, holy smoke. So I got the dogs in the house. I went out, leaned on the railing with a video camera, and I filmed that bear. And he just stayed there and just hung around eating grass and rolling around. And then I thought, Mike Brasino, who's now retired, Game and Fish, he was our main predator biologist. He's the guy that literally dealt with the bears. He gave me his cell phone. He says, if you ever have a bear around the house, let me know and we'll evaluate it and see if we need to move it or just whatever, So just kind of keep an eye on it. So I'm thinking, I'll call Mike, but he's probably somewhere in the boonies by Pinedale or who knows, somewhere out near Jackson, And I called him and he answers the phone and said, Mike, where are you? He said, I'm about 1.5 miles below your house. I said, what are you doing here? He says, I got a crew from 60 Minutes from New York City doing a documentary on people who live with grizzly bears. I says, well, hold on to your hat. I'm looking at a bear right now in my yard. No kidding. So they came racing up the road in 4 vehicles, this big camera crew, and all these. And the bear heard them and it turned off and walked down to the creek and just disappeared. So they just barely missed it. So they came in the house and I showed them the video and the producer. It wasn't one of the anchor people that you see on 60 Minutes. This was the field people.
Right. And
the head guy says, man, he says, can we take some of that footage back with us? And, I'm a writer and I sell stories and words. And I said, you betcha. I'm thinking 60 Minutes, I'm going to retire from this deal. But I didn't. So anyways, they took the film back and they used about, 20 seconds of it. And then they interviewed my wife and I about living with bears. And so it was kind of fun to be on 60 Minutes. But I only got a check for $200.
Well, hey, it was a good day though.
Oh, I know. So my friends were saying, Zumbo, you're going to get $10,000 for that footage. That's 60 Minutes from New York City. Wow. Yeah.
Yep. $10,000 turned into 200.
I got a brown bear story in Alaska. We were fishing. Jim Teeney is a very dear friend of mine. He's probably the top fly fisherman in the West Coast. He makes his own Teeney nymph, and he's a fly fisherman strictly, and he's fished Alaska. He's fished all over the world, and he took me under his wing, and I made my first trip to Alaska with him about 40 years ago. But one time we were fishing a river. We had a float plane and landed, and we caught a bunch of salmon. We kept a couple for lunch, and the float plane was moored across the river, which was about 50 yards wide and maybe in a deep spot, 2 foot deep. We had waded across, and we had a little barbecue grill, and we started cooking some salmon. There were 5 of us. And somebody looked up and said, holy smokes, here come a brown bear. He smelled that salmon cooking, and he come running. And we scattered like quail. Everybody ran in the alders. And what do? Like an idiot, I run for the plane. So here I am, and trying to walk on water, and my legs felt like lead weights. And I got to that plane. I beat that bear by 2 yards. He came straight after me. I don't know what, Anyway, I was packing a fly rod. I didn't have a gun. So never again have I gone to Alaska without packing my 44. So that was a goofy story. But,
he wanted some fresh cooked salmon.
Yes,
I can't blame him.
He probably thought I had some. That's why he was chasing me.
Oh, man. And it's so good when you catch it and you cook it that day. So yeah. I'm sure he was like, oh, yeah, that smells good.
Yep.
I'd probably chase you, too, to get after him.
Yeah.